New people, you don't get that. That was only for my old folks. My OGs, they only get that. No, you got to reintroduce some of the stuff, your greatest hits. You got to bring that stuff in so that the new people also know what your greatest hits are, so that the lore continues to compound and grow. So, number 3, and this one, or sub-point, and this is one for me personally. I follow a bunch of quote accounts. I like comedy and philosophy and like fighting. There's like kind of categories that I follow, and gym equipment. And so I get quotes a lot on my newsfeed. But you know what happens when I see a quote from Sophocles or Epictetus yet again that reminds me that I should just toughen up and keep going? I like the reminder. I'm not like, Epictetus, God, you lived 4,000 years ago. Like, get over yourself. No, he's not making new content, but guess what? People still post it and people still read it because we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. At least I do. To give a little tactical one on this from mainstream, because this might resonate for some of the older people in the crowd, there was this thing called television a while back, used to be big. Anyways, instead of having it on your phone, it was like this big screen on a wall. It was a whole thing. Anyways, I won't get into it. It's like floppy disk. Regardless, floppy disk was, okay, anyways. So there used to be this thing where at the beginning of every show, there was a theme song, right? So they'd be like, cheers, where everybody knows your names. And there's always a little introduction. It says produced by and all that stuff. And if those shows that spend gazillions of dollars on testing chose to think that despite selling more advertising space, it was worth having the same exact theme song and introduction for the show, don't you think it might be worth that for us too? And here's an interesting thing, the last thing, positive associations and sticks. If you actually get sing-songy about how you introduce yourself or the things that you relate to you, it starts to become something that people expect, and then they start associating it with all the positive other experiences they had with you. So if I always introduce something a certain way and then I deliver value afterwards, they associate the introduction with the value. And guess who else do they associate that with? You. And so, for those of you who are concerned, you can add variety to this. And I want to show you a cool little real-world example of this. So The Simpsons has the longest standing show, to my knowledge, that has existed on television. And the introduction is the same. Now, Bart would be like 70 by now, or whatever his actual age would be if it was actual humans. But it isn't, right? And every introduction has Bart at some point in detention writing something on the board. For those of you who don't know The Simpsons, every one of the introductions actually changes. Every one of them. And so they still have the introduction that has all the positive associations with the funny times and the humor and the laughs that you've had with the show, but they introduce a tiny bit of variety into them to keep it interesting. And then what happens is people look forward to these introductions because they want to find the Easter egg. The real fans now get catered to, and the new fans don't know about it yet, but they will. And so now you actually serve both sides of the audience, the people who know you and the people who are just coming cold. And so that's it. Small variation, same introduction, you let the new people in, and you give something to the people who already know you. So, title it like they don't know you, introduce yourself, say why they should listen, prioritize the content that makes sense for strangers, deprioritizing the vlogs, the hot takes, the opinions, because if you can serve both audiences, serve both. Let the new people in, rather than have a wall they have to jump over. Let them in on the joke. Fully explain the references that you make. Make all jokes inside jokes for everyone. And then finally, mentally act as though you're always talking to a stranger, because if the content does well, you are. At least, that's what I'm going to be doing. And so that's the 6 big change that we're doubling down on. And so now that we covered those changes in my strategy, I just want to get real for a second. Everything has a cost. And it's not that other types of media or other topics or other formats don't work. Obviously, we had a smorgasbord. We had a huge variety, a cornucopia, myriad content types that we did over the last 40-ish months. And obviously, we had 7.8 million subscribers and 2 billion views during that time period in a niche audience of business owners, which is pretty good. And so it's not to say that other things don't work. I'd even say that my mess-ups also work to a small degree. It's just that they didn't work as well as something else might have. And so the game, at least as I see it in entrepreneurship, is figuring out what's my biggest bang for buck? right? What's the content that gets me the most of everything? Because you only have limited resources. You have time, money, energy, and you put it into your team, and that goes onto social media or the media that you market on, and then that has output. And so if you can become more efficient with the inputs you get more output on the other side. And so the question becomes, with the resources I have, how can I maximize the number of the right people who find out about my stuff? And so this is something that I live by. Anything works better than nothing. So raise your hand right now if you haven't made a piece of content in 90 days. Okay, just do something. Because if you do something, you will do better than what you're currently doing. 2, some things work better than others. And 3, nothing works forever. And so the requirement of the entrepreneur is to start doing something, see what works better, and then do as much of that as they possibly can for as long as they can until it slows down, and then figure out what the next thing to do is. And then do as much as they can at that. So is that helpful in terms of understanding content and media? Yes. Awesome. Do you feel like you got at least one lesson without the scar, or saved at least a tiny percentage of the $4 million that I spent learning what didn't work so I could show you these 6 things that do? Okay, good. Would you like more stuff like this? Okay. Well, then I've got a bunch of free stuff that I can give you to help you grow your brand and make some money. That be all right? Okay. So if you're just starting a business right now, raise your hand. Okay, this is for you. I'm the co-founder of the School Games. Inside, you'll find courses, full-day trainings, the easiest business model they know of to use this media stuff. Because it's one thing to just say like, oh, great, I just watched this whole thing on media. Now what do I do? Well, this gives you somewhere to actually practice it, like a sandbox. You can learn it, and you learn by doing. And this is one of the lowest stakes way to make money, get your first dollar across the finish line. And so fun fact, something I'm very proud of, is that right now 30.44% of people who finish their first month make their first dollar online by starting an online community. I think that's pretty cool. And so you can start that for free by going to school.com/games. All right. Tell them I sent you. So that's for everybody. Raise your hand if you're, you're starting a business right now. Okay. That's for you. Now, if you're a little further along in your business journey, I've got free stuff for you too, all right? Trying to feel like Santa Claus today. I wrote these 2 books right now, which have 25,000 5-star reviews, and they sold 1 million+ copies. And I made courses for each of those books that are free on my site. You can go to acquisition.com/training. So if you like this stuff, you want to learn more about offers, you want to learn more about advertising, more about getting leads, paid ads, content, all of that stuff, so that you can start making money within your business or scale it from wherever you are to wherever you want to go, I've made this stuff for you. These are real courses. It's not barred anywhere. You can click there, watch them all right? See, I put that for myself because this is how I roll. Get in the zone. So otherwise, you guys are all amazing. You can go there for stuff that will help you practice this stuff, actually do it in the real world. Because if you just walk away from here today and you do not execute anything, you learned nothing. And so for the love of God, just do one of the things so that you can get a tiny percent of that $4 million and the 35,000 pieces of content and the 1,000 hours that I spent recording. Just do one of them so that you can take that lesson for you. Thank you, guys.